300 people here, and they're going, man. Like said, some of the prices are kicking me right between the legs, and others I'm going, wow.
Real dark storms have been brewing for some of Rust Valley Restore's most beloved cast members behind the scenes. The Canadian Car Restoration Show became a fan favorite across the globe, captivating audiences with its blend of rusty relics and high-stakes builds. But recently, the show has been unusually quiet, with little word from the Rust Bros crew. Fans have been left wondering where their favorite cast members could be today. And the truth is far more dramatic than anyone expected. Did the pressures of fame and fortune finally catch up with these gearheads? And what happened behind the closed doors of Rust Bros that the cameras never captured? Join us as we reveal Rust Valley Restorers cast members who are dead or in jail in 2026. The Schoaf family lawsuit. If fans thought the drama on Rust Valley Restorers was limited to whether Mike Hall could stay on budget, then they had not been paying attention to the legal troubles of his lead mechanic. In early 2021, Avery Schoaf did something that would make for uncomfortable Thanksgiving dinners for years to come. He sued his own mother. The lawsuit, filed in the Supreme Court of British Columbia, claimed that Avery Schoaf was entitled to a 50% stake in his mother Helen's Shuswap Lake property. His reasoning was straightforward, at least in his own mind. Since 1995, he had made what he described as several significant improvements to the land. According to his civil claim, Avery did not make these improvements out of the goodness of his heart. Rather, he believed his mother had promised him half the property in exchange for his years of labor, and he was now coming to collect. But there was a ticking clock. The property had been tentatively sold, and Avery was deeply concerned that if the deal was finalized with all the proceeds going to his mother, he would never see a dime. His mother had indicated she would be leaving Canada and taking her assets with her, a prospect that would make any legal claim against her significantly more difficult to enforce. To prevent the sale from going through before his lawsuit could be resolved, Avery took an aggressive legal step. The day after filing his lawsuit, he registered a Certificate of Pending Litigation, commonly known as a CPL, against the property title. The practical effect was devastating for any potential sale. The property could not be legally transferred until the CPL was dealt with. Helen Schoaf did not take her son's lawsuit lying down. In her legal response, filed in March of 2021, she denied virtually every claim. She asserted that she had acquired the property without any contributions from Avery and that she never agreed to transfer any interest in the property to him. She denied that her son had made significant improvements and went further, alleging that his work was not completed in a good and workmanlike manner. In fact, she claimed that the items he installed have diminished rather than enhanced the fair market value of the property. She also alleged that Avery had never compensated her for his use of the property and had actually diminished its value by using it to store older model vehicles, RVs, and garbage. As if that were not enough, she claimed Avery had been collecting rent from friends living on the property in her RVs, money she said was due and payable to her. As the legal battle between mother and son escalated, a third party entered the fray. Robert Kuhn, a Vancouver real estate developer, had entered into negotiations with Helen through her realtor to purchase the property for $2 million. The deal stipulated that the property was to be free of tenants, trailers, scrap metal, and garbage by May 15, 2021. But Avery's CPL, filed just 3 days before the agreement, threw a massive wrench into the works. Frustrated, Kuhn filed his own lawsuit against both Avery and Helen. His allegations were scathing. According to his claim, the property was still littered with various abandoned vehicles, trailers, RVs, scrap metal, and garbage. Kuhn's lawsuit also revealed that Helen had notified him on July 26th 2021, that she had changed her mind about selling the property and asked him to terminate the contract, but he responded twice, insisting he wanted to follow through with the purchase. Currently, the public record does not show a final resolution to this tangled web of lawsuits. But Avery's legal troubles didn't end with his mother. Could a federal fine for an abandoned boat be waiting just around the corner? Avery Schoaf's paddle wheeler. Fine. If suing his own mother was not enough legal trouble for Avery Schoaf, the year 2024 brought an entirely different and far more expensive problem. This one involved a 62-foot paddle wheeler named the Spirit of Kelowna that had been sitting at the bottom of Shuswap Lake for nearly 5 years. The vessel sank near Celista in the North Shuswap sometime in January of 2020, creating what authorities would later describe as an ongoing safety and environmental hazard. For years, the sunken paddle wheeler remained submerged, a silent testament to neglect. But the problem did not go unnoticed. Multiple agencies became aware of the situation, and an investigation was launched. That investigation finally bore fruit on August 29, 2024, when Transport Canada issued a $26,600 administrative monetary penalty to the owner of the Spirit of Kelowna for failing to comply with prohibitions against vessel abandonment under the Wrecked, Abandoned, or Hazardous Vessels Act. Transport Canada explicitly identified the boat's owner as Avery Schoaf. On the very same day the penalty was issued, Transport Canada notified the owner of the minister's intent to dispose of the vessel, with a 30-day notice printed in local publications. Well, Avery didn't oblige, and on October 3, 2024, a Shuswap Area Marine Recovery Company, acting under the same federal act, was contracted to remove the vessel from Shuswap Lake. The Spirit of Kelowna was finally pulled from the depths, where it had rested since 2020, and transported to a marina in Sicamous for dismantling. But this was not the first time the vessel had sunk. In December of 2013, it had partially sunk near Calamoir Regional Park in Okanagan Lake, sustaining minor structural damage. The ministry was brought in to recover the vessel at that time, as the boat was not to be moored in the waters near the city of West Kelowna. The fine against Avery Schoaf represents the most concrete legal penalty faced by any Rust Valley Restorers cast member. For a show that prides itself on restoring old vehicles to their former glory, the irony of one of its stars being fined for abandoning a vessel in a lake was not lost on observers. But while Avery was fighting nautical disasters, the show's frontman, Mike Hall, was facing an entirely different kind of threat ashore, one that could shut the shop down entirely. Mike Hall's regulatory battles. While Avery Schoaf faced civil lawsuits and federal fines, Mike Hall, the heart and soul of Rust Valley Restorers, has been fighting a different kind of battle. His enemy was the Agricultural Land Commission, the provincial body that oversees agricultural land in British Columbia. And this fight has been going on for years, threatening not just Mike's business, but the very existence of the shop featured on the show. The property at the center of the controversy is 4439 Trans-Canada Highway in Tappan, British Columbia, the very location where Rust Valley Restorers is filmed. The property includes several buildings, residences, and workshops, including Mike Hall's shop. But here is the problem. A significant portion of the property sits within the Agricultural Land Reserve, land that is supposed to be protected for farming, not for auto restoration and vehicle storage. The trouble began years ago when one of the tenants on the property began construction of a building associated with an auto restoration business without the required building and development permits or authorization from the ALC. A stop work order was issued on March 25, 2021. The ALC made it clear that authorization was required before the Columbia Shuswap Regional District could issue a building or development permit. In a May 29th decision, the ALC gave its reasons for denying an application to retain and expand current non-farm uses on the property. The panel reviewing the application found that the unauthorized uses and structures had degraded the agricultural capability of the land. The Commission chose to deny the applicant's proposal to legitimize the unauthorized auto-related non-farm uses and the relocation of unauthorized vehicle parking. Their reasoning was blunt and damning. Doing so would encourage the landowners to degrade their land through non-farm uses, then seek the ALC's forgiveness. And non-compliance should not be used as a tactic to force the Commission's hand. The ALC's decision also noted a troubling history of unauthorized expansion on the property. In 1984, the Commission approved an antique auto museum on the property, and in 1996, approved its expansion and the construction of a storage building. But since that time, the non-farm uses had expanded without approval of the Commission. The ALC panel was clearly not in the mood to reward years of non-compliance. As a result of the decision, the applicant could continue to use already approved structures, but unauthorized uses were to be relocated to a more appropriate location. The ALC deferred enforcement actions for 2 years, a temporary reprieve, not a permanent solution. Mike Hall expressed concern, but opted to refrain from commenting publicly as he waited the 60-day period the ALC had to review the decision. The fight did not end there. In May of 2026, the Agricultural Land Commission denied another application involving the property. This time, applicants Edward Wisniak, Leslie Charman, and Mike Hall sought to subdivide the 3-hectare property into 2 lots, including a 1.54-hectare lot for Wisniak and a 1.47-hectare lot for Hall. But then, the ALC denied the application. The 2026 decision revealed more about the complicated ownership of the property. Wisniak had purchased the property in 1980. In 2006, he sold 3.5 acres to Hall as a handshake deal. The ALC identified Wisniak as the property's owner, while Hall made the application with Wisniak. If the subdivision had been approved, Hall would have ownership of his portion of the property and his investments. But the ALC said no, leaving Mike Hall's regulatory status and the future of the shop itself very much in question as 2026 continues. But while the old guard battles the bureaucrats, are the younger cast members ready to carry the Rust Bros legacy forward? Cassidy, the apprentice turned fan favorite. When Rust Valley Restorers premiered in 2018, few viewers could have predicted that one of the show's most beloved cast members would be its youngest. Cassidy McKeown joined the Rust Bros team on January 10, 2019, as an auto body apprentice, and she quickly became a fan favorite. Today, much to the joy of Rust Valley Restorers fans, Cassidy McKeown is still working with Mike Hall and the rest of the car restoration crew. Her tasks at the shop include mechanical work and painting jobs, and she has built a substantial following on social media, particularly on TikTok and Instagram, where she shares updates about the show and her work. Cassidy is not just an apprentice anymore. She is a reality television personality in her own right, with hundreds of thousands of followers who tune in to watch her progress. But Cassidy's journey has not been without heartbreak. In February of 2023, her father passed away. Her father had been going through health issues for some time. In 2021, he suffered cardiorespiratory failure and developed atrophy in one of his legs, which left him unable to walk, on top of dealing with a long-term disability from an accident he suffered in his teens. Cassidy organized a fundraising campaign in July 2022 to help afford a wheelchair for him. Despite her efforts, her father passed away in his sleep on the morning of February 2, 2023. Following his passing, Cassidy took a break from social media for a while before returning a couple of months later. Despite these personal challenges, Cassidy remains committed to her work. Whether Rust Valley Restorers returns for another season or not, Cassidy's future in the automotive world looks bright. But she isn't the only young gun keeping the shop alive. What about Mike Hall's own flesh and blood? The Hall carrying the torch. If there is one person who embodies the future of Rust Bros restorations, it is Connor Charman Hall, Mike Hall's only son, and the engine that keeps the shop running when his father's imagination threatens to outpace his bank account. Connor is not merely a supporting character on Rust Valley Restorers. He is the stabilizing force to Mike's boundless enthusiasm. Where Mike sees a field of dreams, Connor sees a business that needs to turn a profit. Connor's role on the show is deceptively simple, but critically important. Described in cast listings as a primary mechanic specializing in engine rebuilds, fabrication, and hands-on restoration tasks that demand technical precision, Connor is the kind of mechanic every shop needs, the one who can take a rusted Hulk and actually make it run again. Unlike his father, who is the charismatic frontman and the visionary, Connor is the one who gets his hands dirty. He is the one who ensures that the cars leaving Rust Bros are not just beautiful, but mechanically sound. As Mike Hall explained to the Kimberly Bulletin in September of 2024, Connor has been branching out beyond the shop. "We had the contract with CN Rail," Mike said. "Connor runs that, and he just picked up that gig in Chase. This is a significant development. Connor is not just Mike's son and employee, he is building his own reputation and his own business relationships. The CN Rail contract and the work in Chase suggest a young man who is expanding his skills beyond automotive restoration into heavier industrial work. It is a smart move, diversifying income streams in a region where the economy can be unpredictable." Connor is also married to Jada Madza King Kovacs, a personal detail that grounds him in the real world beyond the television cameras. Unlike Mike Hall, who has been battling the Agricultural Land Commission for years, Connor Hall appears to have inherited his father's passion for cars, but not his father's talent for accumulating regulatory headaches. If Connor is the future and Mike is the vision, who is the steady hand making sure it all doesn't fall apart in the present? Sarah Ward, the manager in all sense. Sarah was born in Tappan, British Columbia, the very heart of Rust Valley, located right next to Shuswap Lake in the South Interior. As a result, she grew up surrounded by car enthusiasts, including people in close relation to Mike Hall and Avery Schoaf. Her father is a skilled mechanic with a well-known fondness for Harley-Davidson motorcycles, and her upbringing was steeped in the household craft, which fostered her profound appreciation for the business she would one day venture into. Sarah showcased her mechanical aptitude even during her teenage years, undertaking restoration projects for a fleet of damaged cars. Her venture into car ownership commenced with the acquisition of a 1938 Buick Special, which she affectionately named Medusa. This vintage beauty sat around for a number of years until she finally decided to bring it up to its former glory, a project that became a rather special episode of the series. As the parts manager at Rust Bros, Sarah is responsible for all the many vehicle pieces required to bring abandoned wrecks to their maximum potential. It is a job that requires patience, organization, and an encyclopedic knowledge of where things are, qualities that Sarah possesses in abundance. She maintains her Rust Valley Restoration title on her Facebook and Instagram profiles, a clear indication that she remains connected to the show and the shop. As of 2026, Sarah Ward remains at Rust Bros Restorations with no public legal issues, and her steady presence at the shop is a reminder that Rust Valley Restorers is, at its core, a working business, and that business is the foundation upon which the television show was built. The show itself has had quite a journey. So far, Rust Valley Restorers has aired 5 seasons comprising 50 episodes. The most recent season, Season 5, premiered on September 19, 2024, and concluded on November 7, 2024, with a total of 8 episodes. That season was the show's most successful yet, scoring a viewer rating of 9.2. Internationally, Rust Valley Restorers has been distributed by Netflix as a Netflix original series, and it has built a massive following. Audience demand for the show sits at 4.5 times higher than the average show in the competitive United Kingdom market, and it ranks at the 96.9th percentile within its genre. In the first half of 2024 alone, the show garnered 12.9 million views on Netflix. By any measure, Rust Valley Restorers is a global success story, a small Canadian car show that found a worldwide audience. But what about a Season 6? For now, there is no confirmed release date for Season 6. The show is listed as continuing and has not been officially cancelled, but the hiatus between Season 4, which aired in 2022, and Season 5, which aired in 2024, was nearly 2 years. A similar gap between Season 5 and Season 6 would mean new episodes sometime in 2026 or beyond. While no one has passed away or ended up in jail, fans can only hope that these challenges have brought them closer together and willing to appear for another mind-blowing season. Which cast member had the toughest road after the cameras stopped rolling? And if the Agricultural Land Commission finally shuts down the shop, would that be the real end of Rust Valley Restorers? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.